Welcome to NFL Prop Picks, powered by the Blitz on Covers. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Derek Carty, the mind behind the numbers. Another winning week. 5-3 over 2 units. We had 3 losers. All were plus money. Kelsey receptions was a loser. Robinson was a deep target. I think he finished with 3. We had the under 1.5. And Allen, kneel down equity, takes it across the line from the 8.5 to the 10.
That was rough because
I know.
Man.
I know.
I'm like sweating it out. I'm like, all right, how does this have to play out so he doesn't get his kneel downs? And he got him. Yeah, it happens.
I know. 10 carries for 20 yards. Too. That's another stinger, right? When you think you could have taken the yards or you take the carries, you think the carries are obviously the softer market. 20 yards. They're happy to run in the red zone. And then the winners, Joe Mixon. That was an easy one. That was a very easy one early. Patrick Mahomes struggled early in that game. You watch him like he was not an elite passer. And that was even in a game where, like we said, you've kind of nailed it. Like they don't know who their running back is.
Yeah. I mean, like I have no idea how to project that every week. Like who's actually going to get the touches for the running backs? I have no idea.
I think the market's kind of corrected itself pretty hard when I think last week was the last one where you could get Kareem Hunt as such kind of a discount because I think they're both in that 32 range now. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of just fading Pacheco.
Yeah.
Like they gave him the first 2 series, but boy, oh boy, did he just hasn't looked good since coming back. Jaden Daniels continues not to turn over the ball. That was plus 114. That was a great hit. Devontae Smith, a little sweaty, finishes with 4. We got the under 4.5. And Mac Hollins. I don't know if you watch much Mac Hollins, but like I said, I need to bet on that guy getting a major foul because he's way too fired up. And they're just going to run the ball.
Yeah, but that is Mac Hollins. That's what they love about him.
I get it, but great run blocker, but he's just not very involved in that game. And we've just seen this Buffalo team go real run heavy. Hi to everybody there in the chat. My Lions, Caleb Dewey, my sweet, sweet Detroit Lions. Just trying to be the smartest guy in the room. I don't know if you had that one in the projection, Derek. Down 10 points, down 11 points. Let's get Jameson Williams to throw the ball into triple coverage.
I don't hate it as much as everyone else does. Like Ben Johnson has dialed up plays like that all year, and everyone's like, oh, man, he's so innovative. He's so great. Like if it works, he's a genius, and it didn't. And so everyone's taking a dump on him, but I don't know.
But what happens when you try to do that in Chicago with a bad offensive line, right? Like that's when you look real bad. Like when you try a trick play that don't work. Yeah. Interesting to see. Welcome. So yes, Caleb Dewey, you've lost your offensive coordinator, you lost your defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, down to New York. So interesting to see there. I don't see it. I don't get it. Robert Salah to Aaron Glenn. It's not much of an upgrade. If anything, just kind of a change in the face. Washington, Philadelphia. Let's get to it because lines are moving. As always, in the chat, if you're not at that book, let us know where you're betting it. And then Steven Johnson says, any idea where the projections will be up at EV Analytics? They were up and then they were just down again just recently. No?
That's what someone's saying. I don't know why. They should.
Yeah, they were up yesterday.
Yeah, they were there. I will look into it after the show and get them up.
Yep, appreciate it. But no, they opened up early for sure. One play, Washington, Philadelphia. Philadelphia is sitting as a 6-point favorite. Total sitting at 47.5, down a little bit from the 80. Temperature, high 30s, looking clear, not like last week. And I think I've realized in bad snow conditions, Derek, I think it's harder to tackle than it is to run, as we saw some absolute big running games. So let's get this one. This is a man who some people are on the under, and we are too. We're at Bet Rivers here. This is a play. We're going De'Ami Brown under 3.5 receptions plus 120. De'Ami Brown under 3.5 receptions plus 120. Zacchaeus has been relegated to wide receiver 3, but Brown's coming off a 95-yard, 6-catch game on 8 targets, but you're not buying it, Derek.
No, this feels like a very recency biased line. Like he had the great week last week, but you can't peg him as that guy all of a sudden after 1 week. Like he had a season high in snaps, season high in targets. It's just you can't project him to do that same thing. There's a chance that Zacchaeus works in more, or Jameson Crowder works in more, or just that, you know, like just that he falls back instead of getting 80% of the snaps to like 60 like he'd been getting. Like you don't know. And the target share spike was even bigger than you would have guessed it would be based on the spike in routes and snaps. So I think that's a little bit unsustainable. I think you have to bet on some regression here. And, you know, we're getting plus money on under 3.5.
Yeah, thank you. Plus 115 at MGM. Thank you for letting us know where it is. Yeah, a bunch of plus 115s everywhere else as well. If I've learned one thing from trying to predict that offense week to week, when I was on Brian Robinson's over receiving yards, because the Eckler and the Robinson split was pretty even in the wild card round, he did nothing in the passing game. So just don't, it's game plan dependent, right?
It really is. Like, you look at kind of how these guys have all been used throughout the year, and week to week, it's just all over the place. So just pretending like whatever happened last week is definitely going to happen this week, which seems what the market is doing. There's just a chance that that's not going to be the case.
Yep. We were looking at a market that, do you want to wait? Do you want to just mention it now with the Barkley play, or do you want to maybe market?
We can mention it. I mean, I was going to say I imagine it'll flip back at some point, but maybe it won't. It is Barkley, so we can talk about it. And then if it does flip back, you know, I'll be trying to get on it.
Yeah, just Saquon Barkley under 1.5 receptions we're looking at a plus 150-ish, 155. We've seen everything go to the 2.5, nothing really there at the 1.5 at the big plus money for the under. I don't know how you project 130 rushing yards. Like, it's insane. And off the air, I was mentioning, saying that snow, like it was run down the clock time. And all you had to do was just run in and kill the clock, Saquon. You didn't have to rip off another 60-yard touchdown. Like, those aren't the norm. Like, yes, I get it. But like, you have to assume Washington is going to do everything they can to stop Barkley and let Jalen Hurts beat you for a passing game that hasn't existed.
I would think so. I mean, the Barkley rushing yards prop this week is insane. And it's been moving up at most books. So I'm just waiting it out. I'm going to wait it out, and I'll take it at a higher number later in the week.
Yeah, that is a smart point. I saw the number, your number, and my favorite thing about just seeing your numbers are that you just get to see the market, right? You get to see everything in one picture as opposed to going into the book, clicking on the one market, just seeing that. You get to see it per person. And I saw it at 130.5. There was 129.5, and it was as low as like 125. So I got it thinking that 125 was going to be where it was going. But no, it looks like it's going to close probably in that 130 range.
It definitely might. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So if I can get it in that range in a couple days, I'll probably be jumping on it.
Where do you stand on that? Like, the pushback I get from that is everyone saying, yeah, but look at what Jahmyr Gibbs did to them last week.
I mean, no, I don't care. The defense against the run stuff is so noisy. One week of Jahmyr Gibbs does not do a whole lot to project what Saquon's going to do. And Saquon's been just ridiculous all year. I mean, he could just keep doing it. But what he's doing this year it's not sustainable. It's one of the I posted about it in one of the Discords. I can't remember which one earlier this week. Like, over the last 25 years, there have been, I think, like 15 guys who've had a yards per carry, like a rushing efficiency as high as Saquon, Henry, and Gibbs have all had this year. Like, it's just like so uncommon. And you look at what happens to all those guys afterwards, like the next year. And this is like elite guys like Jamal Charles and Chris, generic name that played for the Titans. I forget his guys like that. Chris Johnson. That's it.
Yeah.
And they all saw massive declines the next year. Like, what Saquon's doing, as fun as it is, as great as he's been, this is not his true talent level. It can't be.
Agreed. I'm on the under. It's going to be a sweaty under. Like, it'll be a sweaty under where you're like, wow, I really got this. And then he rips off a 60-yarder and you're like, oh,
yeah,
now
I know.
It's just like, contain him. But that's all we got for that game. interesting. So we'll wait for that Saquon under 1.5 receptions, and we're on the De'Ami Brown under 3.5 receptions at plus 120. Then the main course, Buffalo, Kansas City. Chiefs sitting as a 1.5 point favorite as of now. Total also 47.5. Clear temperatures, low 30s. Let's get this lean out of the way. Hopefully I didn't talk too much. We're at Bet365 here. We're at receiving yards. And yes, we got it. Pretty much similar price across the board. It was at 11.5 a little while ago, but it's moved up. It went from play to lean territory. But Noah Gray, got to double check. That's the over, correct?
That is the over, which is surprising because we were taking his unders all the time throughout the middle of the season.
That's what I have in my notes exactly. I said we hit him on some unders this year. Just had to double check. So why the change now? Like you mentioned, everybody's healthy. This is how pass heavy this offense is.
Yeah, I think it's just that the market is kind of overcorrected. It swung too far one way mid-year, and now it's kind of too far back the other way where it's just too reactive. Noah Gray, mid-season, the narrative was, they love Noah Gray. His role is so much bigger now. Like he had a few games where he was getting targeted, a lot. And we hit his unders, and I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure that wound up being profitable. The weeks we did that.
I think it was the reception market specifically, right?
It was the reception market we did, yeah. But yeah, now it's kind of the same thing. You look at what he's done the last 3 weeks. Last week he was involved a little bit, his normal amount, but the 2 or 3 weeks before that, he was barely targeted at all. And I feel like people have kind of just soured on him. It's the playoffs now, and Kelsey is Kelsey. So how can you think Noah Gray is going to do anything? I feel like that's the narrative that the market is kind of trying to tell us. But the same as I said mid-year, his role is the same. His role is always the same. And this is too low for what his role in this offense is.
Okay, looking at 14.5 in the chat. Is 14.5 still playable? There should be a lot of 13.5s out there, though.
There are, yeah. I think there's at least 4 or 5 books that have 13.5s, but there's just as many that have 14.5s, I think. It looks like the number you're getting on that's about minus 115. That's still weak lean territory for me, I'll call it. I still like it, but I really wanted to get in on this at the 11.5. The 13.5 I'm okay with. The 14.5 fine. Beyond that, I think I'm out.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing it move, taking it up to 14.5 at some big books there, DK and FanDuel. But yeah, Noah Gray. We're on the unders. Now we're on the overs as I take a look at chat. MGM minus 110 on 13. Appreciate it there, chat. Let's go to Bet Rivers, but this is also 3 points different at Caesars, ESPN, Score, DK, some big books here. Dun, 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 dun. Rushing markets, we're going to go carries. And I tweeted out that we're going to hit some Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen overs. I lied. That was farming. That was engagement farming, if you've ever heard of that. Patrick Mahomes, under 4.5 rush attempts. Seeing the minus 113. Sorry, producer Mick, you're going to have to adjust that. Apologize, but we're moving up to that. But like I said, Caesars, ESPN, Score, DraftKings, minus 115. I assume those are also plays at that number too.
Yeah, this one shows some pretty good value. The Blitz is projecting about 3.25. So yeah, a full carry under this line. You can play this at pretty much any of the 4.5 odds that are going to be available right now. A lot of this comes down to kneel down equity. Mahomes had 23 kneel downs this year, which was half of his carries. In a close game against the Bills, they could still win. He could still get his kneel downs. But when you work out mathematically the probability of it and the average number of kneel downs he should get and everything, there's a chance they lose this game and he doesn't get those kneel downs. And if he doesn't get those kneel downs, then this is a hard number for Mahomes to get.
Looking at the play-by-play, I wanted to see where that safety was. The safety was on 4th and 15, but it was followed by what happened? Kareem Hunt with 1:46 left. Kareem Hunt for 4 yards. Then Patrick Mahomes kneel. for 4 yards. Patrick Mahomes kneel for -5 yards. So he lost 9 yards in his 2 kneels and there. And then obviously the end of the game. So wouldn't be every time you kind of look at, how many carries did he have? Always make sure to see where the difference between true carries versus kneel downs.
What kind of carries they were, which is not something the market takes into account at all.
Nope. Agreed. So Patrick Mahomes under carries. That's where we are with that. Jump over. Might as well bet some Josh Allen stuff while we're here too. We're at DraftKings. Haven't been to DraftKings in a while. Rushing attempts. It went up 9.5 on the under. Josh Allen under 9.5 rush attempts -120. Like we got it at the 8.5 last week. He had 2 kneel downs as a favorite now, as a slight dog, kind of in the similar spot, right? Like game script wise, +1.5 or whatever.
Yeah, if they lose the game last week, we hit the 8.5, and this week it's moved up to 9.5. You look at what he's done this year, and I think I said the same thing on the show last week. Like, I think he's only gone over this number like 5 times during the regular season, and then again last week. And if you pull out the games with kneel downs, I think it was only like 2 times or something like that. Last week he got the kneel downs. Cool. This week facing the Chiefs. If we're betting on both of these guys, hoping that both their kneel down equity is lower, we're going to be right about one of them, I hope. It's not like his his design runs haven't gone up in the playoffs. That, it's just, they haven't. It's the same as it's been all year, basically, which is, not anything special, like 10% of the design runs outside of the red zone. Inside the red zone, obviously, he can get some more. But
he only gets it around like the 1 yard line now,
right?
Like
exactly.
They're very content giving it to Ray Davis or James Cook.
Yep, definitely. So, I mean, all that is in the projection. When you put it all out, I think the Blitz is projecting about like 7.5 or so for him. And so if you're going to give me a 9.5 on him, I'm going to take it. People are asking about the kneel downs. This isn't assuming neither guy gets kneel downs. Like, both are projected for kneel downs. They're just projected for fewer kneel downs than they normally get. In a game where Kansas City is going to, is a touchdown favorite or a 10-point favorite, Mahomes might project for like, a full kneel down or a kneel down and a half or something like that. In a game like this, he might only project for, I'd have to look, I don't know, quarter of a kneel down or half a kneel down or something like that. So it's not like we're saying they're not going to get kneel downs. We're saying the chances of it are lower. And all we're doing with these projections and everything we do is probability. If the probability of it is lower and the line is not accounting for it, that means there's edge.
Just thinking right now, this is, I don't know, just brainstorming here in terms of the projection on it. You would assume that the better coach team, a better coach team and a better quarterback, an opponent, would have more timeouts left at the end of the game, right? Like you don't waste them. Right. So when you have the timeouts, you're running a running back play to get the yards. You get the kneel downs when there are no timeouts left. Good quarterbacks don't waste timeouts.
I like that. I like that.
Came out of nowhere, bud. That came out of nowhere.
Well, hopefully that's what we see. That would be great.
Yeah, like at game time, like crunch time. It's not like, oh no, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid blew all their timeouts.
Yeah.
Well, so that's hopefully that works well. And as Reed Phillips says, they always play tight games, so that will help too. But 2 games left and 1 game left. So basically 3 games left on the schedule. It's been a good ride. Playoffs have been profitable so far the last 2 weeks for sure. Let's go. We're on DME Brown. Under receptions. We're waiting for Saquon Barkley on the under 1.5 receptions plus money to open up. We'll see how that goes. Might not come back because, as you said, everybody is piling on that person. And you talk about someone who was in the chat said, you think it will go higher than 130?
Yeah, the yardage, I think it could. The receptions, I mean, the 2.5 now is priced at like -200, -220 everywhere. I know people don't want to bet unders on Saquon, but I hope some book flips back to a 1.5. With odds like that, I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm riding his under 129.5. This is not college football. That is an insane number. And then Noah
Yeah.
Gray, over 13.5 receiving yards. That's on the way up, -110. That's the only lean we got. And then Mahomes under 4.5 rushes, -113. That's a play. Lots of 115s available. And then Josh Allen under 9.5 rush attempts, -120. Was 8.5 last week, similar price. Had 2 kneel downs and somehow went up in the same game that projects for the same game script. I don't get it. We haven't seen the 9.5 since we were laughing about it like in week 3 or week 4.
I know. And he hasn't even really gotten it very often. Like, he's probably gone over I'd have to look at his game log. I don't do a lot of game logs. He's probably gone over the 9.5 like 3 times all year. And I would have to think every single one had at least a kneel down in there.
Nope, like it. All right, let's call it that. Appreciate everybody there in the chat. Hit us up on X if you have any questions regarding it. Derek will make sure those numbers are back up. All good. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Derek Carty. This is NFL Prop Picks powered by the Blitz on Covers, on X, on YouTube. Hit that like button. Don't be freeloaders. Subscribe, do all that other stuff. Give us some engagement. Appreciate it. Sorry, no Allen or Mahomes overs. We're on the unders as usual. We'll see you around next week. No, we'll see. I don't know what we're going to do for Super Bowl. I don't know how early we'll get the props out, but you'll probably want to get to those numbers early.
Probably, yeah. I guess we'll see what the market's looking like early in the week.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Derek, and thank you to the chat. We'll see you around.